49ers at the Seahawks. The 12s are going to be, are they going to be, is it too much tryptophan? Are they going to be like sleeping by then? Or are they going to be excited, the 12s? What do you do when you're preparing for a Thursday night game?
Well, it's West Coast, right? So it's the same. It's just like being the 4 p.m.s.
That's a good point. Yeah, I'm just, the turkey. The turkey makes you sleepy.
Yeah.
When they eat turkey during the day. Anyway, Niners by 7 here in Seattle. Battle for the top of the NFC West.
Big line for that, in division against another good team who are basically keeping pace at the top of the division, or at least,
It's an interesting day. I mean, I feel like we've both picked the favorites in the first two. And then I don't know where I'll go with this one, but it's 3 of the best teams in the NFL as heavy favorites. I think there could be a upset potential in at least one of these 3 games on Thanksgiving here.
Yeah. So we had an email actually sent in from Nathaniel Palazzolo.
What do we do now?
He was updating the rock, paper, scissors in the NFC West standings since we screwed that up last week. You actually didn't. You weren't on the show. When we
No, I wasn't.
Brad did, to be fair. I just didn't correct him. So he said this is since 2017, which was when McVay and Shanahan showed up. So it felt like a logical starting point. So Seahawks versus the Niners are 8-5.
Seahawks against the Niners?
Yeah. I believe that's what this is saying. The Niners versus the Seahawks are 5-8. Yeah. So
yeah.
Seattle wins this rock, paper, scissors matchup most of the time.
Interesting. Huh. Not in the playoffs last year, though.
No. I mean, there's 5 losses.
There's losses.
Not all the time.
This is the closest one. This is the closest one to a toss-up. This isn't McVay always loses to Shanahan and what's the other one? McVay always beats Carroll.
The Cardinals against the Rams are 2-12 in that period. Which, remember, a lot of the time they were good. Like they had a 9-win season. They had, the Niners are 10-4 versus the Rams. So Shanahan always beats McVay.
Yeah, that one I know.
And the Rams
except in that one NFC championship.
The Rams are 10-5 against the Seahawks. So McVay always beat Carroll.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fascinating one. I think the story here, though, you have a Seahawks team that has snuck some victories out over the last few weeks. The advanced metrics are probably not as kind to Seattle as they are some of the other good teams in the league. They're sitting here at 6-4. Got smoked by the Ravens a couple weeks ago. Again, you kind of sneak some wins out, or only win 20-10 against Arizona, win by 4 against the Browns, win by 3 against the Commanders, and now Seattle's got the Niners, Cowboys, Niners, Eagles over these next 4 weeks. They're 7-point underdogs at home against the 49ers. They're going to be, unless something drastically changes, they're going to be touchdown plus underdogs over the next 4 weeks against all those teams. At Dallas on a Thursday night, at San Francisco again, and then home against the Eagles. So we're talking about a 6-4 team that could easily be 6-8 in a few weeks unless they steal one of these. So it's a big test for Seattle. And then from a San Francisco standpoint, they had their midseason lull with a 3-game losing streak, but they're fully loaded again on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, as we mentioned, the pass rush is fierce. They look great again over these last 2 weeks, 2 dominant weeks for the Niners. Last week against Tampa Bay and then 2 weeks ago against the Jags.
Yeah, Geno Smith banged up coming out of that game where he got wrecked by Aaron Donald. Supposed to play, I think. It's not going to keep him out of the game. I mean, obviously that would be a huge thing either way. The difference between Geno and Drew Lock is probably fairly significant in a game like this. So if they get Geno back, I mean, even in the game against the Rams, it didn't necessarily look that way, but Geno had a bunch of big-time throws, didn't make that many, glaring mistakes. Like, he wasn't the reason that their offense was not firing on all cylinders and only ended up with 16 points. I think, Geno gives them a chance in this game, but the 49ers, when they're firing with all their playmakers, just look like that combination we were talking about of it's all of it together. That credit pie, the offensive skill position players are playing out of their minds. Shanahan is doing his magic, and Brock Purdy is now making 3-4 big-time throws a game. If all of those things happen in one game, I forget the Seahawks. I don't know if anybody stops them.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, I'm excited about Seattle getting Jackson Smith and Jigba involved over these last couple weeks because, with him and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, nice trio. Noah Fant at tight end, adding a little different element. They have those pieces. I don't think this offensive line can hold up against the Niners. And that's most offensive lines, I think is fair. But we saw last week. Eric Armstead was the guy last week that had a monster game for the Niners. They have Chase Young in there now. We know they have Nick Bosa. They're rotating. They're 7 or 8 deep. Seattle's got our friend Jason Peters over at right tackle. Mm-hmm. Our friend only because he's older than us, of course, 41 years old, almost 42 in January, playing right tackle right now. Charles Cross, the second-year left tackle, last year was pretty solid, except when he had to go up against Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
Right. There's always those matchups that are challenging, and I think the Niners' defensive line is going to be too much, especially with an injured Geno who's been really solid this season. And then on the other side of the ball, good luck stopping this Niners offense, because they're firing again with Deebo Samuel back, Trent Williams back in the lineup. Matchup-wise, watching rookie Devin Witherspoon. I mean, both corners, Reek Woolen and Devin Witherspoon, going up against these Niners receivers. It's a little unfair sometimes because you're giving some advantages to Ayuk, putting him in motion, and he's running these difficult to cover in cuts, but they're fun matchups for Devin Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that pass rush of the 49ers has a chance to be the obvious difference maker here. The 49ers are I think the next team after that trio that we talked about, Dallas, Cleveland, the Jets, as the 3 best pass rushes in the NFL. Well, the 49ers are like the top of the pack that's chasing them. Bosa, like Chase Young, has made a difference coming over. They have a spot for that sort of speed rusher on the other side, opposite Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave in the middle. Like, that's a nasty front four that Seattle's offensive line doesn't match up well with.
All right, man, 7 points for San Francisco. Is this our 3rd straight time picking the favorite here?
I'm going to pick Seattle to cover 7.
You're going to take
Seattle?
The
49ers will win, but I think Seattle will keep it tighter than that.
Chris and Mike on the call here on Thursday Night Football. Tirico said he's excited to hear the 12s on Thursday night here, Thanksgiving night.